Okay, I'm just setting up the live stream. Won't be long. Okay, we're looking good. So we're going to do a cargo flight in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. As you can see, I've got about just under 2 million in the bank. This flight is for 473,000 credits in the Cessna Grand Caravan. So we could potentially get quite a lot of credits for this. So we'll see how we do. Most of that will be dependent on us doing the flight from end to end without skipping anything. So we'll do our best to achieve that. I'm going to go and run LittleNavMap in the background just so we can sketch out what the route looks like. So we'll go new flight plan and we'll clear any history. So we can see there's our airplane on the ground. We'll see how we get on. So let's go and put the camera in his head so it's not behind him. So we have to go through the steps. If you want to get maximum points within the simulator, it's worth going through it, and to be honest, I like doing the whole story. So it stops you from being lazy, I think. So going through the practice of doing these things is kind of a good practice to get into. So we're just going to have a wander around the airplane. Obviously, if you're doing the full workup, you'd go and wiggle all the surfaces and do everything you'd need to.
Good afternoon, Captain. First time we work together. Great. I'm Rebecca, your co-pilot.
Okay, hello Rebecca. I've not met this girl before, so there we go. So we can obviously do the startup procedure, shortcutting it if we wish to, but we're not going to. And we're going to begin this flight by having a look in the tablet. So we're going from EGCJ to LSPG. Okay. Interestingly, we can't save the plan from here, which is a bit of a shame. Because if we could then load it up in the web interface. So we just want to put EGCJ to LSPG. So if we go into LittleNavMap and go to flight plan route description and say OK and delete whatever's in there before. And let's just check that one more time. EGCJ. So EGCJ to LSPG. So that's Sarnen, isn't it? Create flight plan. And so that's the end-to-end route, which just gives us some idea when we're looking on the map along the way. We can obviously use the tablet as well, which has got the flight plan in it. So we can see we've got a departure there and then a route right the way across Europe. So what I would like to do, though, before we go too far with this, would be go to planner.flightsimulator.com. Now, I don't think this will have the route in it, will it? So if we go to 208, for example, and go to route, what we should be able to do, if we go in here, can we copy the route? There's the route as written. Yeah, if we come back out of here, can we see? No, this tablet won't show us the text version of the route, will it? Which is a real shame. Now, how much fuel have we got? I'm just double checking things before we set off. So there's the route. That's a real shame that it hasn't got a text version of this. Anyway, we'll just get on with what we've got. So first things first, let's get the airplane up and running. So batteries on, beacon light on. Going to look overhead, make sure the fuel is correct. We're going to look at the control levers, make sure everything's good. So the throttle is pulled back, the fuel condition is all the way back in feather. So prop RPM is back in feather. Fuel condition is in cut off, which is good. So we'll go and turn the avionics on so we can monitor engine start. Oh dear, we've got spammers here already. This is getting quite tiresome. Okay, so we've got the beacon light on. Let's go and put the no smoking and the seatbelt signs on, and we'll go and we won't do a taxi light just yet, so we're going to go and start the engine. So starter can come on, and we're looking at the RPM. So it's coming up through 11. We're going to advance the condition lever.
Our skids are built to handle turbulence, but maintain a constant flight speed. Let's keep our delivery on time and safe.
Okay, so why is the feather not coming out of... I'm just going to go and have a look in settings. What on earth is going on? Have we got a slightly different version of the aeroplane or something? Oh, the controllers are not plugged in. That would be useful. So, I'm going to go and plug in. This is interesting actually, because you'll see the interface change as we do this. I'm plugging the controllers in and then providing power to them. That's what's going on. We now have control. Okay, what we're doing here now is waiting for RPM to come through 50%, and it has done. We can then come back down and turn the starter off, and we can reset the generator. And the engine should come up nicely. You can see the attitude indicator there. We're going to put the second bus on for the avionics. I think everything looks okay over there. Nav light can come on. Taxi light can come on because we're going to taxi in a moment. Stall heat and pitot heat can come on. Okay. I need to move the joystick actually. Got it off to one side of the desk, away from me. So, flaps to take off position. Going to announce our taxi.
Echo Golf Charlie Juliet.
We're going to go and
Cessna
open.
Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu is taxiing to runway 28.
So if we press backspace, we can actually see the taxi route. So we can announce the taxi.
Echo Golf Charlie Juliet, traffic Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu is taxiing to runway 28.
Before we go much further, let's have a look at the fuel. Yeah, we haven't got enough fuel, so we're going to go Control Alt F twice, 3 times, fill the airplane completely up. We're going to release the parking brake. Did we... Interesting. Why is it not releasing? Oh, it is releasing. It's just incredibly heavy, fully loaded aeroplane. And we haven't advanced the fuel lever yet, so we're running on ground idle at the moment. which is correct. So we're just taxiing out to the runway. Let's make sure we've got the taxi lights on. Yes, we have. While we're here, let's go and calibrate the altimeter. And we'll set the mode control panel for the autopilot up. But we can go and do some other things. So we'll go and set this for like 1500 feet or so. I'm sure it will give us a climb altitude in a moment. So we're taking off on runway 28. So we can get the heading, although we can snap the heading round to the correct direction in a moment. But we're going to do this on the way. So there's 280 degrees. I'm sure the runway isn't exactly 280. Let's also put the head tracking on. So this is the first career mission I've done in well over a week, because I had a bit of a break from the simulator over Christmas. So we are back in business today. And as I said previously, I'm not always going to record the career mode flights, because they're not for everybody. And there's just a lot of managing of the sim rate along the way, which is not the most fun thing to watch in the world. I thought I've just announced takeoff. Why is it not? Okay, we're going to take a massive hit for that.
Echo Golf, Charlie Juliet traffic Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu taking off runway 28, departing straight out.
So I've done announced takeoff, even though it complained that I hadn't, and that seems to have cleared the error. I wonder if that will resolve it later. Wonder if that's a way around that.
Echo Golf, Charlie Juliet traffic Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu taking off runway 28, departure to the south.
I wonder if we've actually broken the simulator already. So flaps are good. Propeller is good. Let's go for it.
V1, rotate.
Right, so we're going to press Control, Alt and V to remove the assistance. So we need to climb to 46,000 feet. Yeah, you'll be lucky. We're not going to be doing that. Tune. We don't do anything yet. We wait for instructions. So we press Enter. We can start our slight turn.
Approach Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu is type Cessna Caravan 1 miles west of Echo Golf, Charlie Juliet 500 feet. Request flight following.
So we need to turn.
Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu leads approach. Squawk tree 036.
Acknowledge the squawk code, so it should do it for us.
0 tree 6 Cessna India Alpha Zulu.
And there it goes.
Cessna India Alpha Zulu radar contact 2 miles west of Echo Golf, Charlie Juliet 1,000 feet. QNH 1030.
Yes, we can acknowledge that, and we've got the correct
Roger, Cessna
barometric
India
pressure.
Alpha Zulu.
So we'll request IFR clearance.
Leads approach Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu 2 miles southwest of Echo Golf, Charlie Juliet 1,300 foot, request IFR to Lima Sierra Papa Golf, ready to copy.
Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu is cleared to Lima Sierra Papa Golf Airport as filed. Squawk Tree 0 Tree 6.
Read that back. Whoa, what is this doing?
Cessna Foxtrot. Golf
Okay,
India
that's
Alpha
fine.
Zulu cleared to Lima Sierra Papa Golf Airport as filed. Squawk Tree 0 Tree 6.
So I'm going to turn off the head
Cessna
tracking
India
because it's
Alpha
being
Zulu
annoying.
readback correct. Radar contact 1,700 feet. QNH 10 Tree 0 continue to Charlie Whiskey Lima. Following heading 145, proceed on course climb and maintain FL 460.
So we'll acknowledge the instruction, then we're going to change the
Continue to
flight
Charlie
level.
Whiskey Lima,
Because this
following
can't get
heading
to that height.
145, resume on navigation climb and maintain FL 460 Cessna India Alpha Zulu.
Cessna India Alpha Zulu contact Manchester Center on 118-775. Good day.
Okay, so having repeated everything 3 times
775
to 2
Cessna
different
India
controllers,
Alpha
we're now
Zulu.
getting on our way. And now we're going to have to repeat it all again.
Manchester Center Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu is at 2,100 feet, climbing FL 460. Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu Manchester Center QNH 10 Tree 0.
Yep, same again.
Contact. Continue to Charlie Whiskey Lima.
Right, request decrease by 10,000 feet. And we're going to do this several times in a
Manchester
row.
Center, Cessna India Alpha Zulu. Request FL Tree 60. Cessna India
We'll have to
Alpha
repeat this
Zulu
back
climb
again
and
because it's
maintain
brainless.
FL Tree 60.
Acknowledge the instruction.
Climb and maintain FL Tree 60 Cessna India Alpha Zulu.
We have no way of saying to it basically requesting like 20,000 feet or 18 or whatever. Request altitude decrease again by another 10,000 feet because you've given us an entirely
Manchester Center,
impossible
Cessna
altitude.
India Alpha Zulu. Request FL 260. Cessna India Alpha Zulu climb and maintain FL 260.
Yes, that's still higher than we want, but we'll acknowledge it.
Climb and maintain FL 260 Cessna India Alpha Zulu.
And now we'll go for another 10,000 feet less.
Manchester Center Cessna India Alpha Zulu. Request 16,000 feet.
Which is more like it.
Cessna India Alpha Zulu climb and maintain 16,000 feet.
Acknowledge, and let's set it up for it.
Climb and maintain 16,000 foot Cessna India Alpha Zulu.
So that's 16,000 feet. And we'll go for flight level change mode to get there. We could go speed mode as well actually, but we'll go flight level change mode. So then this will change the target. So we'll say 120 knots is our target airspeed. And then we can open the power up to get the pitch up and open the RPM up as well. I'm inclined to leave RPM at about 70% though. We'll just let these stabilize. So we're going to get about 800 feet a minute, 700 feet probably when it finishes stabilizing. And in the background we're going to go and run a program called FS Simrate Bandit and connect it to the simulator. And that will tell us what sim rate we're running at, because we're going to accelerate time now. So let's go and sit ourselves up in the seat so we can see around ourselves. Say hello to our lovely new co-pilot who is with us for the first time today. Did she say her name? I don't think she did she? Let's have a look from outside. So we're climbing out. What altitude are we up to, I should say. Coming up for 5,000 feet. Again, career mode doesn't respect the the regional rules for barometric pressure. So we're going to blast through the transition altitude at 6,000 feet, and the sim will take no notice of it. We have to basically play by its rules, but we will go and turn the landing lights off at 10,000 feet, even though there's nothing to stop us carrying on. It won't penalise us for leaving them on. Taxi lights can come off though. Do I need to activate VNav? No, because I am not going to follow the plan. I'm doing my own plan. So vertical navigation, if you weren't aware of this, it's in here. It only really, well, it depends on the airplane if it's implemented or not. But if you go into a flight plan, we've got no altitudes programmed. So there's going to be nothing for VNav to use. But I'm not sure on the 208 if it will even use it anyway, or if it's just there as a... It looks like you can press it, but there's nothing programmed. So there's no point. We may as well manage it either with vertical speed mode or with flight level change mode or speed mode to get to the altitude you want to. So we've told it to hold 120 knots in flight level change mode, which is reflected up here. So always use the top of the primary flight display as your indication of what modes you are running. Never use what buttons are lit up or not lit up. So this reflects what's actually going on. We're in flight level change at 120 knots set. So obviously we've got excess power to do 120 knots, so it's turning that into climb rate to hold 120 knots. Because the 208 doesn't have an auto throttle, we set the throttle. We're in GPS mode, so the aircraft is following the track. So let's go and speed things up a bit
Sim
now.
rate 2. Sim rate 4.
So if we go for sim rate 4, we can see we are 35 miles to run until the next waypoint, and it will tell us here in sim time how long that's going to take. But we're going 4 times normal speed, so it's not going to take 15 minutes. So yeah, I never bother with, on any of these career missions, I never bother with VNav in the 208. You'll notice the aircraft is swaying. That's a byproduct of us running at 4 times speed, so it's not being able to sense quickly enough to respond. So we're basically messing with the simulator's head by speeding things up. Different sensors work at different update frequencies, including the flight model itself. So when you speed the sim up, it won't work perfectly. So we're on our way up to 16,000, we're about to come through 10,000 feet. So if we are pretending we are a commercial flight, we will take our landing lights off at 10,000 feet. I've had some interesting conversations with real-world pilots about the use of lights, and they were basically saying, yeah, they're only advisories, they're not, you know, laws.
10,000 feet.
So we just come through 10,000 feet, we turn the landing lights off. You usually get a 500-foot window for the, you know, the acceptability of having turned the lights on or off. And that's only really recorded in terms of ACARs, and that's, you know, professional standards more than anything, standard operating procedures. So the companies like to, they like their pilots to follow standard operating procedures which are adhered to by pilots of the airline. And if you don't, I guess that will be in the disciplinary handbook. But you know, the lights are not law. I guess that's what we're getting to. Strobe should be on, by the way. Okay, so we're now 11 miles out from our first waypoint. We're up to 12,000 feet. We'll get various handovers. Here we go.
Sim rate 2. Sim rate 1.
Good day.
So we'll acknowledge the handoff.
118. 475 Cessna.
There's a bug
India,
here. This
Alpha
doesn't
Zulu.
scroll to the bottom. Tune London Centre. Contact London Centre.
London Center Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu is passing 12,600 feet, climbing 16,000 feet.
Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu London Center QNH 10 tree 1 radar contact. Continue to Tobies.
So we go and recalibrate. So I think what's going on with this, the career mode air traffic controllers are basically establishing US air law on global traffic. So they're expecting 18,000 feet for barometric pressure to switch to standard, which is obviously not correct for anywhere except the US. I think that's what's going on in the sim. I may be wrong. It may just be a bug. So yeah, I'm just looking at the live stream comments going on about people flying the
Simbrief 2.
different aeroplanes in career mode.
Simbrief
I've
4.
not followed the passenger route very much. I went and bought the Vision Jet with some money and have done one passenger journey so far. But I think the cargo missions may be more lucrative. I'm not sure. But if you're aiming to get towards the big cargo, the big passenger jets, then yeah, possibly going PC-12, going that route. Although that's going to take you down the turboprop route, isn't it? I went jet route on purpose. I don't know if you can avoid the turboprop route. Also, I noticed you have to do something like 15 high quality passenger flights to get into the big leagues, which is a lot of trudging. So you're going to have to follow procedures very accurately and keep passengers happy for 15 flights in a row. Well, not in a row, but, you know, over time. So I haven't sold any aeroplanes as such yet because you can crew them. So any airplanes you previously had, as long as you just maintain them, you can crew them, and then while you are flying, they will accrue hours as well. But I guess the trick in the game mechanic is they can only be flying while you are flying. Otherwise, people would just buy aeroplanes and treat it like a stock market simulator. So we're just flying along using accelerated time. You can see on the SimRate Bandit we're at 4 times time at the moment. So if you're interested in SimRate Bandit, just search for FS SimRate Bandit on Google and it will find the GitHub page for the download. It's a wonderful little tool someone's gone and made that uses SimConnect to control the SimRate. Pop the tablet open, we can see where we are on the route. So we're going to be in the air for a little while. This is why you get a lot of money for doing these routes, because they're incredibly boring. But we could just close the tablet and look outside. We're probably not going to see very much, are we? There's an incredible amount of fog around in the UK today. It's been on all of the news networks. So Martin's saying he's got all the certs. Yeah, having the certs isn't really that big a deal. Just because you've got the cert doesn't mean you can actually go and fly the flights. because you have to get the qualifying criteria as well, which means flying a number of flights, for example, say at B or above. And I think for the passengers to get to the big jets, you have to have like 15 flights at B or above, which sounds easy until the sim goes, throws a curveball at you. So yeah, I got all the licenses before I got any of the aeroplanes. I just went and did. In one evening, I basically passed all of the licenses. I did enough flights to have enough money in the bank on a cargo mission that I then went and passed everything. So someone's asking how to get the licenses. In the career mode within the menu, you can go and do licenses. You have to pay credits to do them though. So you have to earn the credits first, do a few cargo flights or something. And then once you've got the credits, you can pay for the licenses. Some of the licenses or the exams, I should say, for the licenses are incredibly expensive. I will admit, my highest scoring license test was the 737, which I went into completely blind. But based on the fact that I've spent the last several years doing group flights with big jets, so I'm very well used to following ATC instruction to the letter quickly. And I got something like 99.7% on the 737 test, purely by luck really. But I did know how to fly a big jet and how to react quickly, and how the mode control, more crucially, not just the mode control panel, but I knew how all the instrumentation works on the 737, and I had the controls already mapped. So I'd previously done a free flight with the 737 and sorted it out. So I was very, very quickly able to follow the instructions they were asking for. So if anybody's wondering, the 737 test asks you to do an approach. I forget which airport it is. I don't think it was Madeira, but it's somewhere like that. And it asks you to come in and get to about 300 foot altitude and then execute the standard go-around procedure, which is essentially flaps to a given degrees, throttle to toga, climb out to 3,000 feet, and then turn to a given waypoint. But yeah, it was interesting. But just by following the instructions, I got a colossal score. I think the most difficult license test I've tried that I didn't do too well at, I'm just trying to think back, it may have even been the turboprop, because I didn't have the throttles configured correctly. It may have been the Twin Otter. So yeah, Cameron has got a really good tip there. There's nothing to stop you using autopilot in the certification tests. So if you know how the various different autopilots work in the different aeroplanes, which you can learn in free flight, you can just breeze straight through. I'm not sure if you can use ILS maybe as well. Would it complain if you used approach mode? And if you have ILS available, obviously. Because several of the certifications for turboprops and things like that are just basic circuits. Same for jets. It's just to do a tiny little box circuit around an airfield, come back in, and you've passed the test. Which is crazy, really. So yeah, Martin is saying there the hardest for him was the tail wheel. So yeah, tail draggers are it's just experience, isn't it? But you just need time in the aeroplane usually. You get the hang of it and then you walk straight through the test. One of the tricks with the tail wheel, or sorry, the tail draggers in the simulator that you learn, and particularly since the sim became more realistic, is about keeping an amount of thrust over the tail. I remember when the DC-3 came out for 2020 and people were complaining that it was wrong or broken because you seriously had to dance on the rudder pedals and the brakes, and you had to be very careful on landing to avoid a ground loop, you know, where the tail swings around. The centre of gravity of the aeroplane swaps under momentum as you're trying to slow it down, and the tail tries to accelerate past the nose. And lots of people were having that happen and saying, this is wrong. I had several DC-3 pilots email me saying, this is absolutely, the DC-3 was a bugger. And it was, yeah. They were commending the simulator. And then, interestingly, in the next update, Asobo dumbed down the flight model of the DC-3 and made it more docile, so it was much easier to keep in a straight line. But the real pilots that emailed me said pretty much what they were seeing in the early release of the DC-3 was more accurate. And you had to have your wits about you. I'm sure the bugs to do with things like durability will get fixed over time. There is just so much here. To make it all work, you know, nicely is a monumental task. Should we speed this up a bit more?
Sim rate 8.
So we have 45 miles to run until our next waypoint. So we're about to cross the channel. So we're heading for Sarnen. So obviously this is the as the crow flies route, but we're following the flight plan as filed, so it's going to deviate away from it, obviously. It's remarkably calm up here, isn't it? I imagine we'll change sectors. Here we go.
Sim rate 1.
126 475. Good day.
So acknowledge handoff.
126 475 Cessna India Alpha Zulu.
Tune Paris Center and contact Paris Center.
Paris Center Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu 16,000 feet.
Cessna Foxtrot, Golf India Alpha Zulu Paris Center, QNH 1032 radar contact, continue to Bravo November Echo.
So we just carry on. So just reading Rex's comment there, that he feels career mode is more buggy after the last update. I've not seen that. I think, well, it's been as good as it was for me. But I know everybody's mileage is gonna be different. I guess the real story here is you really can't beat getting something into real users' hands to see how they use it in order to find out the issues. But if anything, it's more stable now than it has been, which you would expect. I had numerous missions fail mid-route for unexpected reasons. It came up with an error. There's been an unexpected error and dumped me out of the mission. So somebody's asking how far apart are the boxes on the G1000. I have absolutely no idea. If somebody would like to look that up, should we ask Google Gemini? That might be a good question for it. So how would we word it? I wonder if it will have an accurate answer, because we can always ask Gemini where it got its answer from. So on the Garmin G1000 avionics primary flight display, when showing, no, what are they called? What's their official name? If we look in the PFD options and look in SVT, it's the, is it pathways? Yeah. When showing pathways, how far, what distance apart is represented? What distance separation is it separation or separation? Separation is represented by the pathway boxes. There isn't, according to this, there isn't one. And this is where it got it from. So NZ Aviator, a navigation, the Garmin G1000 glass cockpit, a comprehensive guide. I bet there is. So we need to speed the sim back up, don't we?
Sim rate 4. Sim rate 8.
So 15 miles to run until BNE, which I feel like I should know. Bologna. Bologna-sur-Mer. Look at it wagging around. As long as the altitude doesn't move too far, you know, like a couple of thousand feet, you should be fine.
Sim rate 4. Sim rate 2.
It's rubbish at turning, so I'm just turning the sim rate down. You know, I said about the acceleration messes up the frequency of sensor readings and responses.
Sim rate 4. Sim rate 8.
So we're now heading south. So I imagine we're going to turn left again soon. Should we have a look at the map? So if we were to increase the range, we can see our route.
Sim rate 4. Sim rate 2.
So somebody's saying you can fix the porpoising by setting the altitude to 500 below or above, then selecting vertical speed at 0. So we'll set the altitude at 500 feet and then set the, I have to go shift space to do this, vertical speed at 0. So it's already at 0. So is that seriously going to fix it?
Sim rate 4. Sim rate 8.
Interesting. So this is one of those recipes that plays into the way the sensors work, isn't it? It is still porpoising a small amount. You can see it doing it on the vertical speed, but not enough to affect it badly. So we have found the magic suspension setting for the Mercedes Formula 1 car that stops the porpoising.
Cessna
Sim rate 4.
on 125.
Sim rate 1.
7. Good day.
Okay, acknowledge handoff.
125. 7 Cessna India Alpha Zulu.
Tune Paris Center, contact Paris Center.
Paris Center Cessna Foxtrot. Gulf India Alpha Zulu, 16,000 feet.
Cessna Foxtrot. Gulf India Alpha Zulu, Paris Center, QNH10, Tree 2 radar contact. Continue to Papa Oscar November.
So we will press comma, and it hasn't actually changed, but we just carry on to PON, which is our next waypoint. So Alt R plus plus
Sim
plus.
rate 4. Sim rate 8.
So if this is no longer having a problem with sim rate, can we go to 16?
Sim rate 16.
Interesting. But the only problem is if we cross over sectors, it really won't like it. Because we're going so fast, we'll miss the instruction and get a penalty for it. That's a great trick with the vertical speed. Thank you very much for that. Whoever figured that out deserves a cup of coffee.
Sim rate 8. Sim rate 4.
So I'm just turning the rate down while we make the corner.
Sim rate 8. Sim rate 16.
So what can we get away with? Can we get away with 32 times even? Or is 16 the limit? Oh yes, I see what you mean, yeah. The altitude is slowly climbing. So I won't push it too much, we'll just wait and see what happens.
Sim rate 8.
Cessna India Alpha
Sim rate
Zulu.
4.
Did you copy?
Sim rate 1.
Yeah, look, we've missed the instruction. This is the risk of going fast.
118. 05 Cessna India Alpha Zulu.
Were we not on Paris Center already?
Paris Center Cessna Foxtrot. Gulf India Alpha Zulu,
Yeah, we were.
16,100 feet.
Cessna Foxtrot. Gulf India Alpha Zulu, Paris Center, QNH10, Tree 1 radar contact. Continue to Tango Romeo Oscar.
So we just carry on again. And we now have a induced oscillation going on.
Sim rate 0.5. Sim rate 1. Sim rate 2. Sim rate 4. Sim rate 8.
So we'll leave it on 8 and not accelerate it too much. And we're zooming off across the countryside. We are on our way towards the TRO VOR at 52 miles to run. You can see that happening here. So Cameron is saying that the Merlin was the Spitfire version of the engine, the Meteor was the tank version. That rings a bell. I seem to remember watching one of those late night programs, or maybe it was on YouTube. There's a tank museum, isn't there, in the UK, where they do historical talks about all that kind of stuff. I think it may have been Dan Snow, is it? Something like that. Went and visited it on a documentary. There's a bearded guy that's on the staff there that has become unwittingly famous via YouTube, I think. It's a bit like the guy that owns the Isle of Lewis replica chess set at the British Museum, who's become famous. He was on a series of YouTube videos during the pandemic. He did one about the royal game of I seem to remember. But yeah, another guy who's become famous through the content that's gone viral online. So we're about to make another corner, but it's not a steep corner, so we should survive even at accelerated time. Irving Finkel, that's his name. He's the king of the internet rabbit holes, isn't he? So if anybody wants a late night expedition across the internet, go and search for Irving Finkel and British Museum on YouTube. There's a fantastic one about the Ark, as in Noah's Ark, following translations of tablets that have been discovered in archaeological digs, which expose the true story of what probably happened. And that's as close as we'll ever get to the truth. So yeah, Cameron's saying, didn't he rebuild it? Yes, they had a project to reconstruct the Ark following the Sumerian, I think it was Sumerian, wasn't it? Tablets? Or cuneiform, I can't remember what language it was now. But they had a description of the construction of a circular vessel. It was super interesting though. Yeah, they played the royal game of as well, didn't they? Which is, the rules for the game appear in various texts or can be derived via supposition from various texts. There have been
Simrate 4, Simrate 2, Simrate 1.
So acknowledge the handoff.
128. Tree for Cessna India Alpha Zulu.
Tune Reims Center. Contact Reims Center.
Reims Center Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu 16.
Oh, hello, we've got the race condition going on between the communications. So yeah, the whole circular story about mentioning Irving Finkel is, we went to the British Museum recently, or I did, and I went and found the Lewis chessmen, and I half expected to see him stood around somewhere in the background, because apparently he does that. You know, strikes up conversation with anybody who's showing an interest in things. That'd be a fantastic job, wouldn't it? To be able to share your passion with strangers and just, you know, talk to them. I had it happen once. I was in the British Museum, no, sorry, the Science Museum, and I was showing my children around the Science Museum, and we went up to the computer department, really, for, you know, that was my payoff for going for the day, is I got to go look at the computers. And we were looking at the next computer in the Science Museum. And there were some teenagers looking at it, laughing about it, about how old and basic it looked. And I couldn't resist it and turned around to them and said, have any of you got an iPhone in your pocket? And one of them did. And I said, the same guy that, you know, I told them the story, a little bit of the story. And they called me sir. And I think they thought I worked for the museum or something, because I just told them the story about Steve Jobs being fired from Apple and him starting Next Computers, and which was like, you know, they didn't invent anything at Next Computers. They borrowed Unix they borrowed the Windows interface from, oh crikey, which window manager was it they borrowed? OpenStep. And then they lashed it together. But yeah, I told these kids the story, and they were like dumbfounded that there was a lineage between the big black cube the dusty big black cube in the glass case in the Science Museum and their iPhone in their pocket. So that must be such a great thing, though, if you're knowledgeable about something and enthusiastic about it, to be able to impart that to other people that are willing to listen.
Simrate 2. Simrate 4. Simrate 8.
The funny thing was, while I was telling these teenagers a story about Apple, my own kids, who were probably 9, 10, 12 at the time, were thoroughly bored and wandered off. I was very lucky in the Science Museum one day. This was years ago. I was looking around it with my dad. I can't remember why we were there now. I think we had a wedding in London and we ended up going to the Science Museum to kill some time. And we happened to be there while one of the conservators was looking after Babbage's difference engine. And I was pointing bits out of it out to my dad. And the conservator overheard, and he wandered over and he said, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "Oh, I'm a software developer." And he said, "Would you like to see it work?" And he actually went through and ran a calculation through it and explained everything he was doing and what it was up to. It was absolutely fascinating. So, seeing the mechanical versions of what has now been condensed into a fraction of a chip, but represented as a huge mechanical tinker toy, basically. It reminds me a lot of some lunatic built a working CPU in Minecraft using the red. What's the proper name for it? It's redstone or something, isn't it? It's called. But in Minecraft, in the video game, you can mine these blocks, and some of them you can build logic gates and things like that. They're essentially building transistors. And somebody built, because they had the basic building blocks to build electrical circuits within the game, they built a working CPU. It's absolutely nuts. If you go and search on YouTube and you find CPU Minecraft, it's stunning. Just looking at Cameron's comment there, I'm not sure if Babbage sold the logarithms.
Simrate 4. Simrate 1. Simrate 0.5.
Descend and maintain 16,000-foot Cessna, India, Alpha Zulu.
Yeah, we've got just a bit too high, look. So if we go set 16,000 feet and then go vertical speed 0, then we'll slowly come back down to 16,000.
Simrate 1. Simrate 2.
It's because we've got a couple of 100 feet away, look, from the target. I know Rex is saying we're going to get a please expedite in a moment. We'll see. Let's see what it says. Should we force it down? We'll come down to 100 feet a minute. And then set it to 0 when we're a bit closer.
Simrate 4.
Now we're away from 200 feet. It should be fine. Should we open the engine up a little bit, or is it tempting fate? No, we'll leave it as it is. What do we want to do? See, look, you guys are far more knowledgeable about the career mode than me now. So I get to crib from you for a change. So, 16,000 feet should be well clear of the Alps, you would think, apart from maybe some of the famous peaks, which you can see poking through the cloud here and there. But we'll just have to keep an eye out on the way. I'm sure we'll be fine.
Simrate 8.
So we're speeding up again. 16 miles until the next turn at Lassen. So we're not that far away. Yeah, look, there's a bit of a routine to go through to get to the destination, but it's not too bad.
Cessna India Alpha Zulu contact.
Simrate 2.
126.
Simrate 1.
225. Good day.
Acknowledge.
126. 225 for Cessna India Alpha Zulu.
So how much do you get on a Pilatus mission then? What's the book price?
Cessna Foxtrot. Gulf India Alpha Zulu 16,100 feet. Cessna Foxtrot. Gulf India Alpha Zulu Zurich Center QNH 10 Tree 2 radar contact. Continue to Donza.
Simrate 2. Simrate 4. Simrate 8.
So Glenn's asking how you get the voice readouts. I'm running a little program alongside the simulator called FS Simrate Bandit, which you can get from GitHub. If you just search Google for FS Simrate Bandit, you'll find it. And if you download it and run it on your machine, in the background, it connects via SimConnect. And it not only tells you here and has a nice little interface, but it will notice the sim rate as you change it using keyboard mappings in the sim and read out when it changes. Ah, so Martin is saying you can get 2 million. On the, if you use the just reading backwards through the comments to see what airplane they were talking about again. I can't remember now. Was it the PC-12? I wonder how much you can get for a 737 then, if you did like an 8-hour cross transatlantic flight. Presumably you'd have to do a freight flight. So what rate are we running at? We're at 4 at the moment. We're about to make a turn now.
Simrate 2.
So I'm turning the rate down. So we're turning towards Obedu. Let's have a look at that on the map to see where we are. So we're going towards, so we're going from here towards Obedu and then down to Kagiswil Airport. I imagine they'll cancel IFR at some point along the way south. 2 times speed at the moment. We'll leave it. Oh, I'll speed up
Simbrief
again.
4.
So we're 5 miles from the next turn point. I'm going to turn it down because the next turn point's a 90-degree turn. 3 miles to run. 2 miles to run.
Simrate 2. Simrate 1.
Should we watch it happen? There it goes. 90-degree turn. We're heading in towards the mountains at last.
Cessna India Alpha Zulu descend and maintain 7,600 feet.
Acknowledge.
Descend and maintain 7,600 foot Cessna India Alpha Zulu.
We're going to do flight level change, so it's going to set it at our current speed and then we just pull the throttle back. And that will start it descending to maintain the speed. 7,600 feet we want, so let's go and we'll set this. And should we increase the speed to 150 knots in the descent? $17 miles to run. Let's pull the throttle right back to idle.
Cessna India Alpha Zulu, you can cancel IFR. Continue VFR.
What a surprise.
Zurich Center Cessna India Alpha Zulu would like to cancel IFR. Cessna India Alpha Zulu IFR flight plan is canceled. Radar service terminated. Squawk 7000.
It won't do that for us, will it?
Frequency change approved. Good day.
So, back, transponder code 7000. Didn't give us a meta, did he? So insane. So, we're going to go and check the charts. 1,500 feet elevation. We probably want to come in along the valley. And given the wind, we'll be coming in runway 02, you would imagine. Let's check the wind on the ground at Caggisville. So, variable 2 knots. There's hardly any wind on the ground. So, I wonder if it will tell us to come in 02. So we're going to contact the arrival airport and find out. It won't do it until we're a bit closer, will it? We're 10 miles out at the moment, probably about 7 miles maybe. So Rex is saying you got 125%. I've had over 150% on routes. Not quite sure how or why. You know, in terms of earnings, I mean. So we're coming back down towards 10,000 feet, so landing lights will come back on at 10,000. 7 and a bit miles. Let's have a look at the map. So we're coming in over the top of this hill. Straight over the top of these ridges. And it's behind them. So it's down here somewhere. Oh, here's the airport. You can see it. But that's the big one. That's Alpnach. We're on Kegiswil, which is down here just below our nose. So what
10,000 feet.
So landing lights on. So we're going to turn right and go over that direction a bit. Should try pressing enter again, see if it makes any difference. I think it's doing
Lima
it
Sierra
now.
Papa
There we go.
Golf Traffic Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu 5 miles north 9800. Ford inbound to land runway 20.
So let's go heading mode. So we're announcing, we're not having a conversation. Inbound to land runway 20, yeah, so it's coming in. Oh no, it's going the other way. Oh my word. Okay, let's go and double back then. So it's paying no attention to winds aloft and just going for ground level entirely. So we'll probably have a tailwind on approach, which is a bit mad. So about 30 degrees maybe. So we're just going to come out this way and then turn it back in again. If we look outside, you'll be able to... Oh, you would be able to see if there wasn't a cloud bank suddenly in the way. There's a runway down there, honest. So we can get rid of this now. So there's the 7,000. We said it was 1,500, didn't we? The altitude of the airport. So if we come back to 4,000 maybe, or we just do it. Yeah, let's carry on. With flight level change and increase the speed it can come down at to 140 knots. So there's Alpnach underneath us. Just looking at that hill because we're going to do a turn in a moment. So maybe we turn left 40 and then do a teardrop. So we come out to 340 degrees while we are descending. Fly that way for a few moments. Let it descend rather dramatically. I just put the props into no pitch at all, which sends them into enormous fan air brakes. So if we look out, we can now turn back around. We're about the right place. Remember, you can't turn more than 180 degrees from the nose of the aircraft or it will play up. We'll start turning the opposite direction. So shift space, Alt 7 is head tracking. We're going to need our wits about us because there's fog. So there's the airport, and there's us, and we're travelling that way at the moment. We're turning right though. We just need to be careful of these hills. It's down there, isn't it? Yeah. So another 40 degrees or so. And we'll be on runway direction. So if you look here, there's this lump here in the way, which is here. Let's come off the autopilot now. So rather than have that lump in the way, let's fly around it. Lump. Listen to me with my technical terminology for hills. Oh, we could go this side. Which is the straighter route? Okay. Visibility is wonderful, isn't it? So we're going to fly straight over the top of Alpenac, which we can now see again. We're just within flaps range, and we're losing altitude down to 3,000 feet, so we're 1,500 feet over the ground. Flaps. Let's just double check. Oh, we want the conversation on the screen, don't we? Runway 20. Just double checking that. So we want to be this side. We can see the runway in the mist over there. So I'm going to apologise for this airfield for flying directly over the top of it at low altitude. The thing we're playing games with here, if I press, I'm going to give the game away, if I press Ctrl-Alt-V, there's a final marker. Look, it's at a ridiculous height because the sim's a bit bugged sometimes. As long as we fly through about 2 miles out, an invisible point on the ground, that is the final marker, and the sim will be happy with our route. Anything else it projects on the map is utter made up nonsense. Okay, in order to get a good view, what I'm going to do is press Alt and 8 while I'm slouching, and then Alt 7. So full flaps. Big kick of... Can we get the wind? We got 1 knot of headwind. So there's almost no wind. It's kind of frustrating when it does that to you.
500.
Lima Sierra Papa Golf Traffic Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu 1 miles northeast 1900. Ford inbound to land runway 20.
It's shimmying. It's funny, isn't it? So there's the hold short. off the runway. So strobes off, landing lights off. Oh, I didn't announce. So I'm going to take a hit for that, but it won't be a monetary hit. This is where it gets fun. If we were to do this properly, then it won't give us time to actually shut the aeroplane down properly. So, yeah. What do we do? I mean, for example, say, watch this. If we go cut the engines. Is it going to run out of fuel yet? I just want to see what it's going to do. Stop at the parking stand, but we are at the parking stand, are we not? Or is it? It's gone a bit bugged, hasn't it? Okay, it wants us over there. We're doing this with no fuel, by the way. So again, it's taking no notice of the fuel levers. And now we've been done for taxi speeding. Oh, we might get dinged for that.
Glad we've arrived.
Welcome to Cadgelswell Airport. I'm Matilda. I manage the reception team. Everything is okay with the cargo, but I guess the flight was pretty rough. I'll leave you to review your flight data. We'll handle the unloading in the meantime.
Seemed fine to me. I don't think anything we did will have a monetary impact. It might have a reputation impact. Yeah, look. Oh my word, look, respect the condition. Why? Why did it say that? Oh, taxi speeding. We doubled the money. That's interesting. Why did we not get more than that? Reputation. Oh, reputation. So you can have a monetary impact from that sort of thing. But again, I think I'd still tend to think the career mode is a bit of a missed opportunity. They could have made it a lot better than it is. So we're up to 2.7 million nearly. If we look up in communities then, so if we went into charters, if we went to buy an aeroplane, what can we afford? Not a lot at the moment. So we'd have to go and get a DA62, I guess. But we've got the certifications to fly just about anything. So if we come back out of here, go to specialize, or not specialization, sorry, go to certifications. So we've got everything, apart from I haven't bothered with the Scoop endorsement. So I think PC12 comes under high performance, doesn't it? Or was it under turboprop? I can't remember now. Or maybe it was ATP. It is interesting though that we can't go and buy a PC12 by the look of it. I go to charters to get a passenger aircraft. I've got the Vision Jet. So looking in the used aircraft, there's some pretty pathetic options at the moment. Maybe it will change. Anyway, there we go. I promised to do a career flight, so we've done another one. Made some mistakes along the way. Nobody's perfect. And we've got a couple of other aeroplanes that will have been flying while we were flying, so they'll have been busy making us money as well, which is good. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Hope you enjoyed watching that. At the moment, I think everybody's just pooling all of the knowledge, aren't they, with the various live streams going on, so everybody's learning at the same time as each other, figuring out what you can do, what you can get away with, and what you can't. So I will see you again over the next few days at some point. I'm not sure when, so I think I'll be out and about tomorrow, so I may not be on the sim much. If I do, I've got some requests to make some more guides for different aeroplanes, so I'll probably be looking at that at some point. I may do a full flight in the 737 just to see how it goes, but we'll wait and see. Anyway, take care everybody, and I'll see you again soon.